MMA from all over the world. This is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMAjunkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. He's back, the fight analyst, Dan, Tom, and back east producing Jolt and Josh. All right, guys, we're upon the weekend here.
Paso.
And we're going to get started with MMAjunkie Radio, but what did I stumble on towards the end with At the Fights? What was going on there with diapers and bets and dares?
Yeah, what was that?
I'm the mayor of Shenanigans USA. I love it when there are shenanigans that involve me, but I love it even more when they don't involve me and they involve other people.
So you instigated and got a few people to bite on your antics.
Well, I don't know about to bite because there was mutual, not hatred, but they just were on two different sides and something needed to be done. And Josh, you want to kind of explain a little bit how this all began?
So this began, it was quite a controversial day on At the Fights. I think I'm going to bring Jerry back in here. So Randy Gordon, Jerry Cooney, co-host At the Fights, and Jarrell Miller was a guest today. He, of course, fighting Anthony Joshua for the heavyweight gold June 1st at the Garden. And, you know, Randy and Jerry, one of their jobs is to pick who they think is going to win these fights. And
Randy's a kiss ass.
And as you hear Jerry say, Randy went with the severe underdog in Jarrell Miller. I love Jarrell Miller.
Not on there. When we were off radio, we did.
You know what? No one wants to hear from me. I'm putting Jerry on. Jerry, come to the mic, man. You explain this shit.
Listen, I got to tell it like it is, right, guys? I mean, that's what I do here. I can't be, slipping and sliding. So I don't think that big baby Jarrell Miller, big guy, 300-pounder, he doesn't have the skills or the pedigree to beat a guy like Anthony Joshua. He just doesn't. You know, Joshua has, the gold medal winner. He's got a deep amateur, career, great professional fights. He knocked out Klitschko after being dropped. And got up and got off the mat and wound up stopping Klitschko when Klitschko was really a great fighter. He brought a great fight that night to the ring. And, obviously Randy, he was in the studio with us today, so Randy was kissing his ass a little bit. And I had to tell the truth. His agent was there, and she heard me pick Joshua to win, and she was giving me a hard time about it. I felt kind of lousy picking a certain guy, especially when he was in the studio with us. But sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, that's the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. And you know what? They'll respect you more for being honest.
Well, you know what? And I don't think he can win. I really don't think he can win. But this is what we play. We play this game. We have to tell the truth. And he's there in the studio, and that happened. And listen, I believe it. I outpicked Randy. I got to tell you something. We must have picked about 350 fights. He's lost one. I mean, I've lost one to him. I won every match with him. So anyway, it is what it is, and it was a little bit awkward for me today, and it kind of felt a little bit out of place. But listen, this is what happens.
But Jerry, if he were to beat Anthony Joshua, you'll be the first guy to congratulate him and shake his hand, right? I mean, you're just doing your job.
And that's for sure. And that's right. And I listen. I hope it's a great fight. I really do. And he throws 800 punches around. I mean, in a 12-round fight. So maybe we'll see a great fight. But when you fight a guy that's at the top of the level, it's harder to throw all those punches against a guy who's throwing back at you, which he will be doing. And we're going to see a different side of big baby Jarrell Miller than we've seen in the past. So unfortunately, that's boxing. And
how does the diaper tie?
But that's the thing is, I love boxing, but I also love shenanigans.
Okay.
And this is how we're going to tie some shenanigans in here. Jerry, you have the favorite, which means you have to give up a little bit more. That's why, all right, if Joshua gets knocked out or loses the fight, he's going to wear a diaper during one of their episodes.
I love it.
But you come back the other way. If Randy loses, here's what I think you should do, Jerry. You're going to have 5 times throughout the year that you can just call out, hey, little baby, suck your thumb. And he's got to suck his thumb like a little baby for 20 seconds. Whenever you call it. Doesn't matter where you're at, if you're in a meeting, whatever. You call it out, he's got to do it.
Ooh,
You got that, Josh?
You could get him, man, at the fights at
I like
Madison
it.
Square
So
Garden.
listen, obviously, I'm a very good picker of fights, and I mean, obviously, there's a chance that Big Baby can win, and I'm proud of him for where he's taken himself. But he's dug himself into a deep hole with this guy Anthony Joshua because he's a beast.
All right.
So anyway, listen, enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. Great show you guys have. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. At the fights, catch them Monday through Fridays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. They cover the sport of boxing like no one else. All right. Today we're going to have Freddie Roach. Speaking of boxing, how about that? We're going to have Freddie Roach on our show. Legendary boxer, now boxing coach and MMA coach. And we're also going to speak to Jessica Andrade. She's actually going to visit the studio. She's going to be facing Rose Namajunas at UFC 237 on May 11th, which is now taking place in Rio de Janeiro. It had been rumored to go to Curitiba, Brazil, and it's been moved to Rio de Janeiro. Still on the same date, still the same event. It's just moving from one city to the next. Actually, the same as 232, except fans haven't gotten screwed because I don't think fans had gotten through the process of buying the tickets or anything like that. But that's cool. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. It didn't impact me in any way, and hopefully they'll go back to Curitiba because the first time they went, they sold 45,000 seats. So I know they're anxious for some more mixed martial arts, so hopefully they go back there. Now, one thing that I had been saying myself that I'm plenty guilty of is that Amanda Nunes might be on that card, and now she's been pretty clear. It's been pretty clear that she's not going to be on that card. So there you have it. I just wanted to finish that part right there. But those are our 2 guests, and in between then we'll have some pockets in which you can call 877 Fight 93, 877-344-4893. We can discuss anything you want, including the fight card taking place tomorrow night, UFC Prague. Headlined by Thiago Santos and Jan Blachowicz. Of course, the retirement of George St. Pierre. That's still maybe the biggest news of the week. And there's been fight announcements such as Anderson Silva versus Jared Cannonier. Cannonier was a guest of ours yesterday.
Yep.
And again, that fight taking place in Rio de Janeiro now, not in Curitiba, Brazil. So, again, please participate in the show. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm also going to scan social media to see if I know some of you sometimes are just limited and you can't get to the phone, and that's fine. So if you have a question or comment, go ahead and leave it. We can be found pretty much anywhere on Instagram, Twitter preferably, or Facebook.
Las Vegas buffets.
Yeah.
When's the last time you went to a buffet?
Here at Mandalay Bay with my friend Christy. And I figured out, I went for dinner, and I hadn't gone for dinner in a while.
How is it?
And they actually upped their game a lot for
Really?
dinner. It's pretty good.
Okay. How about you, Dan?
Dude, I can't remember. That's a really good question. It's been years. It's been a minute. And nothing against buffets too, but
wow.
yeah, no joke. Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's weird because, like, when you live in Vegas,
I think I did.
you
3
would
months
think
ago.
you do a lot of the Vegas stuff, but you don't really. I mean, you live here. Like, back home, we lived 15 minutes from the beach. I rarely went to the beach. I've probably gone more to the beach since I've lived here in Vegas, going back home and going to the beach, than I did when I lived there.
That's how it
That's
works.
definitely the case for me too.
Yeah.
Strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when people come here, that's one of the first questions is, where's that buffet? Who's got a good buffet? And you know what? Buffets are great, people. I'll tell you that. But there are such good restaurants now. Like, the restaurant game over the last couple of years has just picked up so with ferocity. I mean, every week somebody's
Makes
bringing
sense.
up a new place, a new big chef that Gordon Ramsay, your Bobby Flay's. Like, they all open up these restaurants, and they're monsters. What's her name? Giada De La Renta. She's got one. They're good, man.
Where's that?
That is at the Cromwell, I believe.
Cromwell.
Okay.
Either
All
that
right.
or Planet Hollywood.
So Dan was out for a couple days, and Dan, we didn't get your reaction to GSP leaving the game because
What?
on
what?
one day,
What happened?
Yeah.
on one day, GSP said, "I'm gonna announce my retirement." On the next day that you weren't here, he announced his retirement.
Sir.
So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any GSP memories?
Man, a ton of GSP memories, but I won't keep everybody. You know, I obviously co-sign on a lot of the big memories, and let me just say, you know, obviously, I take it as serious as one can when a fighter announces retirement. But even me, Mr. Rain on Parade and Mr. Contrarian, I'm not really looking for the tinfoil hats as you aptly put it on the show the other day, and I get that. It's not that there's no valid in chasing those trails.
You mean in returning?
Yeah, and we could talk about that, but to be honest, I wouldn't mind. I would be happy. I would be happy as a GSP fan. I would be happy as a fan of the sport, seeing a guy go out on top, and as a person who is always trumping the titles and for these things to get back into play, I'd be happy on that front. But that being said, GSP memory. I posted it the other day. It was an odd one. It was an outside of the cage one, and it was during their tour for the lead up of the rematch for BJ Penn, and they did the visiting cities and stuff. People forget about this. They think that Conor going up. If you ask Conor, it's Conor going up to fight Eddie at 205 was the first time that happened and whatnot, and those big tours were happening. But no, the UFC did it way back when, 10 years ago now, guys, which is insane. And
I think right.
Oh, excuse me.
The switch. Is it red for all?
Oh no,
it's good.
We're good.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure because it looked like just you and I and just the voice was speaking. All right, so Dan can't.
Yeah, no, we're good.
That's
we're
my
good.
bad.
Yes, sir. No worries. And anyways, so they went to a kind of a radio show like ours, but it was Hawaii, and George St. Pierre was in enemy territory, and I just liked it because essentially I won't get too into it, but like they were having him taste a bunch of dim sum, like Chinese, local, like Hawaiian food, and for us Hawaiians, like we love it. We love you to like the food, but we also like it when you don't like it. It's like we get joy either way. And George, it was great because you see George as being a sport. He's in enemy territory. You see him being an absolute sport about it, and even BJ, as aggressive as he was toward George back then, he was like cheering George on, and the little moments you see, especially when you know what was going to happen, the drubbing, right, and the rivalry. And I just bring that to light because George was such a nice guy, which I think is right that we highlight it. But he really didn't have that bad blood rivalry, even when guys tried to bring it out of him, right? Except for BJ. BJ brought it out of him, and say what you will.
And Nick.
Oh, what's up?
And Nick, maybe?
Nick,
a little bit here and there, right?
He fought
so. Say you're scared, and then GSP did the old woo.
A bit, but he fought so measured. He actually showed up to the press conferences.
Oh, you mean in the fight?
In the fight, yeah. Whereas like George, even after beating BJ's, beating his ass, all due respect, obviously a big BJ Penn fan, beating his ass for 3 rounds, at the end of the 4th round, like it wasn't enough. Like he got up, and you see these little pads behind us for the cage that we replicate beautifully. He just punches it. Like you never see George St. Pierre. When do you see any fighter do that? Like I didn't punch this guy. It's not like I didn't just what you did set a significant strike record on BJ Penn's head. He's like, you know what? Not enough. I'm going to punch the cage. Like he really brought it out of him. But I appreciate that. I don't look at that as a negative to George. Like these are things that like were great little little details, if you will. If there's a big painting of his career, so I pick a random one, but I always love that rivalry.
Yeah, for sure, man. That was 2 great fights that they had. Well, at least one great fight. And the other one was pretty one-sided. But either way, it was a great rivalry. Well,
yeah, and they were classic matchups, like I pointed out. Like the first one is the classic example where we talk about judges wrestling versus striking, right? That was a classic 3-round decision where we've had that argument how many times since that fight at UFC 58 or whatever it was, USA versus Canada. The second matchup is a classic for tactics in a fight. Before clinch fighting was just stalling, it was ugly. But George St. Pierre says, no, there's tactics here. I'm going to slow him down. If the guy's got a speed advantage and a striking advantage, how about we slow him up first? Then I can do what I want to him. Like there's such great examples in those fights.
I still remember GSP throwing, I hope I get the right fight, he threw a leg kick and BJ jumped it with both legs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
Amazing.
Great memory, George. That was
good.
That was a fun fight. Oh, man.
Now, that said, and thank you for the compliment, I have actually a terrible memory.
You do. That's why it was great.
Pad punch. I'm going to have to go back and see that.
Yeah.
I've never seen selective memory. You don't have bad memory.
But why would remember so exciting about that? That I wouldn't
because
see
it meant something to you.
I guess, yeah. Maybe I went, ooh.
Yeah, you went, holy crap, that's different from a fight. You watch SportsCenter, and you see a guy jumping over the fence to catch a ball. It's amazing, but it happens every night. You don't see a guy jump a kick like that.
Even now, even still today, I mean, how many guys, first of all, credit to George St. Pierre, because not many guys, when they miss the leg kick, they follow through the back leg, unless you're like a Donald Cerrone would do that, but he's also, by statistics, the best leg kicker in the UFC. So not many guys do that in the first place. So the fact that George did it, but BJ had the counter to the counter.
Yeah.
Was just, oh my gosh.
Who did Donald Cerrone leg kick up, but he was on the ground? He was pissed off.
Jury?
Jury? Okay, Jury.
Yeah.
He just kept wailing on him, man. I remember the crowd going nuts on that.
Yeah.
Do you remember when George St. Pierre was here for about an hour and a half on our show in the studio? Remember he took off his shoes, put his feet up on the table, was just chilling.
Wow.
We were just kind of laughing at it, but he was very relaxed.
I don't. Yeah.
And he took off his shoes, and then he just put his feet up on the table, and he was kind of like sitting back like this. Me and you were looking at each other like, just make yourself at home. But it was cool because he was not uptight, but I think he was afraid to let his guard down a lot in his career. And I think he was just having so much fun that he just let his guard down.
I'll have to go back and hear that interview.
But there was one thing that he told us at the end when the show was over.
I remember.
And I think you know what it is, but I think we can share that now because the career's over.
Yeah.
And you want to do it or you want me to do it?
Well, hopefully I got this right. So we asked him, because this is about the time where him and Anderson were rumored for like a Cowboy Stadium show.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right.
The show had ended, you said, right?
The show had ended,
yeah.
Yes.
So we said, all right, enough bullshit. Like, nah. We always get a little nugget or two afterwards, right? And he goes, listen. You know, we fight him. No. Anyway, he said, I will fight him, but to fight him, I would have to add to my frame to compete at 185. And if I go up, I'm never coming back. And so I remember Goz and I looked at each other quickly to think, is that worth it? Because 70 was still quite the division.
He said his body would go through too much hell trying to get back down at his age that he would never attempt it.
Yeah.
So we had that nugget for a long time.
So remember, there'd be no Condit fight, no Diaz fight, if he's a man of his word. There would be none of those other fights that he wound up having, later in his career.
Wow.
I guess Hardy would apply.
Consistent.
Hendricks, whoever. And maybe would have got to Bisping sooner. Who knows? But he said that. But then again, I remember a few years ago he started teasing 55, and I think I even told you, look at so and so, who.
But at the time,
who doesn't want to
that was getting thrown out.
Right. So now I'm not saying George was a liar because he looked like he came very clean and he was very forthcoming.
Right.
I just think that as you get older, you change your mind about a lot of
Sure.
things. You're really strict with some things. You're not as receptive, with other ideas or thoughts or whatever, and you just change. You know what I mean? But if I ever saw him, I'd say, what changed? Because you were so firm in your stance here, and yet you were able to move around and leave for 4 years and contemplate 55. Like what changed for you?
Didn't a chick?
He probably just learned more about his body.
Or didn't a person come up to the window and flash?
No.
Somebody. Oh no, it was Dana White, huh? It was somebody with a Canadian flag.
But her boobs weren't exposed.
I know, but still, yeah. But that wasn't GSP, right? It was just during
Dana. It was Dana. She wanted tickets.
It was during a card though that featured GSP, right?
No.
Because she had a big Canadian flag. I remember that.
Right, but it wasn't.
Are you sure?
I think it was. I'll look it up. I think it was Forrest Griffin and Rich Franklin.
Jumbo,
card.
Jumbo Josh is always volunteering for those ticket giveaways for a reason, right?
That's why I hit the damn drop.
Yes.
Versus 4 I think it was UFC 109.
Oh, okay.
That card wasn't bad. I think that was Shogun and Jones. Let's see here if I have it. No.
Which card?
109.
109. That was Couture. That was Couture and that was
Coleman.
Yeah, Couture Coleman, right?
I'll find it right here.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a joke? 109, the combined was the combined 100. Was the combined age of the fighters in the main event? Was the joke?
The Geezers at Caesars or something like that. He joked about it.
All due respect to those guys, by the way. God.
Okay, it was UFC 126, and it featured Anderson Silva against Vitor Belfort.
There we go.
No, that wasn't it.
No?
I know it wasn't it. No, hold on. That's the wrong one. It was
the following.
It was this one right here, I believe. 106. So Tito faced Forrest for the second time.
Oh, yeah.
That was the main event. Kostrick versus AJ. Thiago versus Volkman. I don't know why that. Maybe, Canadians. A lot of Canadians were coming to Las Vegas.
They just travel with Canadian flags, though.
Sure.
Are you sure? All right.
Well,
I'll believe you.
I don't know. I don't. Doesn't look to me like he was at any point on the card and they removed him because Forrest Tito doesn't strike me as a main event. It strikes me as a co-main event. Tito did have a big name. Anthony Johnson fought Josh Koscheck. Remember that one, guys?
Yeah. You gave me a flashback, actually, but reminded me back to my old school fight party days where, God, seems mean, but is a nice enough guy. He gets enough crap for probably political stuff. But
want to hear the whole card?
But, sorry, Volkman, real quick. He was one of those guys where he would pop up on the screen and, a couple guys in the fight room would just be like, laughing. I don't know if it's because his nickname was Christmas or because he had he had a funny default picture.
Chiropractor.
Yeah, but, if you judge the guy by a picture, be careful with that guy. But, sorry, go ahead, George.
George Sacharopoulos versus Jason Dent.
Oh, G. Sots and Dent, yeah.
Kyle Luno versus Fabricio Camois. Brian Foster versus Brock Larson. Kendall Grove versus Jake Rochold. Remember that?
Another, yeah.
Marcus Davis versus Ben Saunders. Amir Sadala versus Phil Baroni.
Oh, Davis Saunders.
Kane versus Antonio Rogerio Noguera. Paulo Thiago versus Jacob Volkman. Anthony Johnson versus Josh Koscheck. By the way, newer fans, real new fans will be saying, who's Anthony Johnson? So new fans will be going, wait a minute. A light heavyweight was fighting a welterweight? Yeah, that's right. At one point, Anthony Johnson was a welterweight. And that's why he fought Josh Koscheck back on November 21st, 2009. The fight card took place here at the Mandalay Bay. That was the one, goes.
I still remember the first time I saw Anthony Johnson was UFC Fight Night 13. Tommy Spear into the cage.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, who is this guy?
You want to know how crazy times were back then? Twitter was just blowing up. And Dana stated he was coming to do the MMA Junkie radio show. Didn't get the links right or nothing, but he still said it. So that's why we had a huge audience. But he also used to tweet tickets.
Yeah, he did.
Remember that, guys?
Yeah,
a lot of them.
Bring your best weapon.
People were like, not camping, but like, let's say you and I had a system. I'd go, you stake out Mandalay Bay, I'll stake out MGM. Then everybody started getting familiar with the systems. It couldn't be like in a location that had to be kind of like open corridors or whatever, because he couldn't just say like, meet me in like in a small
fight shop
contained area. Otherwise the place would just get mobbed. That happened at the Block in Orange.
I was there. We were there.
That was crazy.
That was insane. We were running through stores. It was, oh my god.
We had to have security.
Why did
he
we
brought
think
security
he was
with
going to
him.
be there? He said that, right? He goes, I'm going to tweet. Oh, is that why? Yeah. No, but why was everyone there then?
Because remember our. I'll tell you during a break.
Let me tell this story first, and then So that was the thing back then, folks. Dana White would give away tickets via Twitter, and he'd give away sometimes 200, 300 tickets. And get this, usually he was giving you the ones that were like $600 or $800 at the arena.
Yeah,
because those were the ones that weren't being sold. All the ones around Octagon side, those get bought by, big shots, players in the casino, celebrities, or they're just comped to. Some of their fighters or whatever. And then there's like that next set of tickets that's a little bit further away, but you don't want to be rubbernecking.
Right.
So what do? You go, fuck it. We couldn't get the good ones. Let's just sit up in the 100s or 200s or maybe even the 400s. So the 600, 800s, you notice there'd be big pockets, right?
Yeah.
And so those were the ones. So when you got it, you usually go, oh, okay, I wonder where this is. And next thing you know, you'd sit in and you go, God damn, that's pretty good. So he would do that, and that's why we had, almost – a stampede here inside of the sports book. But he said, I'll be there to do the show. He didn't say he was giving away tickets.
Oh, okay.
So after he did our show for how long? An hour and a half? 2?
No, about 45 minutes.
You sure?
Yeah.
I was positive he was here an hour and a half.
No, because he was in studio with us for a while, but from the moment he left us and said,
that was another 2 hours.
When he was out here?
Yeah.
That wasn't 2 hours.
For sure, dude.
Well, he was out there a long time, but I don't know if it was 2 hours.
Okay, well, regardless, he was here quite a long time. One of the longer interviews you'll find of Dana White. I'll tell you that much. You can do whatever kind of history you want. Even if he did a 1 hour Dan Patrick show, we still got them beat. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He was here for a long time. Then when he left there, he decided that's where he's going to do the Twitter thing. And he shook everyone's hand, took pictures, and gave tickets to everyone. You had time. Think about it. In 2 hours, you can go, hey, guess what? Dana White just got me tickets. And somebody that was an hour away could get in their car, come down here, and also collect on it or whatever. He had one of the more impressive showings I've ever seen in terms of just to come into a radio show and taking care of like our fans, his fans, and Mandalay Bay's fans or whatever. It was really, really amazing. I remember Cofield came in and he kind of turned a little red. He's like, yeah, I know he's here. And, I'm going to grab him for an interview. All right, go ahead, do what you got to do. Everybody was hustling. That's fine.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Was used to be by the Shark Reef. because it was a little bit more open over there.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I
And
guess this one,
car.
people ran through the casino to get here, and that's where the trampoline can come into play. At MGM, it was by the escalator, by the MGM Grand Arena.
Well, you guys saw, just not to step on and maybe even set up Goza's story, but at a point where he was doing the video blogs, because this was kind of coming just after we're talking about this iteration of Dana White UFC. And I remember where he would tweet it out, he wouldn't even show up, it would just be his big security guards. But what I loved about that is you would catch, like, you'd see the people running up, and they just see a big guy in a suit, and they're just like, start slowing down, like, is this the right person? And then the guy kind of makes eye contact, like, yep, it's me. I got the ticket. Don't worry. Yeah. And that was always a funny exchange.
What was crazy? He would do it too. What's crazy though is like, you would think he'd say, "Okay, here are your 2." They would say like, "How many you need?" And I shit you not, people could go
4,
8,
8,
and they'd go, "All right," and they'd give you 8. It was
so it's gone. Yeah,
it's insane. But what I thought you were gonna say was, when he tweeted, he was over here by where Bourbon Bar is. That's where he was when he sent that tweet. So all those people were either nearby or they ran that quick.
Oh, when he came in, he was huffing and puffing, right?
Yeah, he was like, "What the fuck?" He goes, "I just tweeted that." He goes, "They're already here," and they all just started coming. It was crazy.
It was funny,
for people who've never been to our
virtual
studio,
Pokemon
the
Go.
Bourbon Bar is what? Maybe not even 100 yards away. 50 yards away, maybe?
Yeah.
He sent that tweet, and then all of a sudden, all these people just came mobbing to the studio. He came in, did the show for, 2.5 hours?
We had to
3
get
hours, and then
security to come in and corridor the place off.
Totally.
But tell the story real quick about the block in Orange.
Okay, so the block, what happened was they knew he was going to be at the block, but the block is like an outdoor,
Anaheim, California.
It's an outdoor mall.
Right.
It's big, okay? We knew where he was going to be exactly, and we had a couple friends.
Why can't we tell that? I mean, that was 10 years ago.
I don't know if you want to expose that person.
Oh, okay.
But
that person's still in the game?
Expose it.
Actually, not really. Still.
Jumbo John's getting excited over there.
What we were doing was one of our listeners had, I believe, his mother had passed away, and we wanted to do something nice for that person. So us and a couple friends, I think we broke up in teams of 2s.
Right.
And we were trying to figure out where it was going to be, and then somebody tipped us off to where it was going to be exactly, and we were able to get. That day, he only gave out like maybe 100 or something. Did he tip us off
to the block or to,
no,
was
to
it
where?
Nike or what?
It was AMC,
AMC
right by AMC. So we were there. As soon as the guy showed up, he came out, "How many do you need?" And we got the tickets.
Oh, so what am I thinking of? Was there a false? Yeah, that's what it was. There was just one time where we were standing there, and then all of a sudden, because everybody's walking around looking at their phone, playing.
Right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, all it takes is for one person to react.
I don't know
that van.
Which is probably the Verizon people, then the AT&T people, then the Sprint people, then the T-Mobile. Because whatever speed those tweets or texts or whatever are coming in, that's what happened. A couple people started running, and everyone started running, and it looked like someone was spraying bullets or something.
Could you imagine that staging?
That was pretty scary.
That place is huge. People were running. Like, some people would go, "He's at Vans," and then all of a sudden everybody would run that way. But see, the thing is, we were media back then, so we weren't allowed to get these tickets. So what we would have to do is kind of like
friends
tip our friends off.
Ah,
go,
smart.
You might want to go over to blank, and then they would go. But so George and I could just kind of stand back and just watch the madness, but it was just
smart.
Insanity. People were scared because they didn't know why all these people were running in one direction, and little by little they just kind of got away from it, right?
My favorite part would be the setup that you guys, especially what George was saying, where like the staging time. That would be the fun people watching time. You see a dude like a tap out shirt, a guy with an affliction shirt. So how's the coffee here? Good. I frequent this occasion quite some time. Tweet goes out, they just shove a little girl out of their way, start running like it's on. Like what the heck?
You could have some fun with people if it was still those days. You could actually just dress the part. Have a few people that run with you, and then boom, everyone will follow you.
Totally.
Like Lou?
Huh?
Like Lou and Back to School, just hold a Bruce Springsteen sign?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, we got a little carried away there. We're going to talk a little bit of boxing, but there's still a lot of time on the show. There's still 90 minutes to go, and we're not going anywhere. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
Happy belated birthday to Al from Thousand Oaks, one of our listeners for many years. Hopefully he still listens. He came up because we're thinking of a nickname that Chuck Liddell used to be called on the Underground website. They knew him as Chocolate Al. I guess some kid just heard his dad say Chuck Liddell a lot, and after that he ran with it, except he thought it was Chocolate Al, and then finally the dad figured it out, posted it on the internet. I think that's how the story went, but that was Chuck Liddell's nickname.
No, wasn't it? Somebody made a thread that said, "Tell me about Chocolate Al."
No, what happened was a kid, I think, drew his favorite fighter and took it to school or whatever.
And it said Chocolate Al?
Chocolate Al, and nobody could figure out who the hell's this guy. God. And then the guy figured it out. Oh, that's Chuck Liddell.
Do you remember when you burned me with that? With We Are the World? Oh. Do we have time, Josh, for a dumb story? It'll take like 2 minutes.
Yeah, go for it. We're waiting for Freddie Roach, so I'm all ears. I want to hear this.
For those of you who haven't figured it out by now, George is my older brother. He's 9 years older than I am. One day, he comes home with a record, and it's the We Are the World record. On the record, to this day, I still don't know who this was. But there's a guy on there that actually does really look like George. And so when you open up the record, it's got pictures of them recording it. And he came in and he goes, "Hey, look, they came to Modern Day today. And all these superstars, Michael Jackson, they all did this thing. And they invited me to sing along." The guy actually really does look like George. Even as an adult, I can say that does look like him.
Album. Okay.
So he tells me that, right? And I'm stoked. I'm out there telling all my friends, "Dude, my brother's saying We Are the World with Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson and Willie Nelson," like all these people, right? Bono. Let me see if I can find him. He's off to he's somewhere around here. And so I go to show and tell the next day at school with the record. And people are up there with dumb shit, man. "This is my buddy Sparkles," right? And I'm like, I'm going to blow everybody out of the park. I show up, I have my record. I go, "This is my brother. He's saying We Are the World with all these superstars."
I don't look like anybody, though, that I can remember.
And the teacher just starts laughing. She goes, "I think you need to talk to your mom and dad there. I think you might be wrong." And it's this dude over here. This is the guy that you said was you. And, yeah, I look like a fucking dork. I got teased for like a year.
I kind of do look like that dude.
But that's a bad picture. There's actually a better one where you really, really do look like him. But even there, you look like him.
And how did she know right away who that?
Because she knew that wasn't you.
That's Kim Carnes, right? Or what was her name?
I don't know.
Next to Michael Jackson?
Yeah. So for about a year, I got teased that
I forgot that story.
He did that to me. Then one time I was doing homework for the DARE program, the drugs thing. And I asked him, first question was like, "What does DARE stand for?" And he goes, "Drugs are really expensive."
Oh, my goodness.
I never raised my hand.
You didn't write that in that, did you?
I wrote it down.
What?
And the police officer shows up the next day. He goes, "What is the answer to number one? What does DARE stand for?" Boom. I knew it. I raised it. "Drugs are really expensive." Everybody starts laughing. They sent me to the principal's office. I didn't even know why. So I got into the principal's office, and I go, "I don't know what's going on."
Dude.
And they go, "You're being a smart ass." And
I sympathize with that.
A lot.
I sympathize with that because I'm on that DARE story I got in trouble with, but I did it on my own accord. I just had a bad habit where I would always draw over things. I would give people eye patches, cigarettes. Oh my goodness!
When I was younger, maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Leave that up. I got a picture of you when you were younger.
Yeah.
Is that like Paul Simon, maybe, or who the hell is that?
Man.
I graffitied all over my DARE book, I drew needles, and I drew because the lion, the DARE lion's all strong because he's like, "I'm strong without drugs," and I drew needles in his arms and stuff like he was on steroids. And the DARE officer actually came in and he looked like Rob Riggle, who probably plays a cop in a bunch of movies. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that guy.
He looks like Big John.
And yeah, looks like Big John, right? Like a big guy. He's like, "Oh, I'm here to talk to you about," and dude, it was so crazy. I was a couple rows back, and I'm going George here, my buddy, and pss, 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 like that kind of a thing. And I go, "Dude, look how big this guy is. This guy's on steroids." And he was mid-sentence, and he was like, "And in the DARE program, I am not on steroids." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Just darted like a movie where everything just focuses on you. He goes, "Oh, what are we here?" And I had, and I was in third or fourth grade, so I had an X-Men action figure or something on there, and he starts kind of picking on me. He's like, "Oh, who's this guy? It looks like this guy's on steroids." He's like, "Let me see your book here." And he opens my book, and then he sees that I drew needles and cigarettes and eye patches and missing teeth and anybody who dare smiled. And he's like, "You think this is funny?" And yeah, Dan telling one of many times I got in trouble for my drawings in school. But yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Ghost.
Dare.
Dare. These guys are.
I'm gonna find a picture of George.
But by the way,
when
when Freddie Roach comes on, what happened was a couple days ago he was on Undeniable with Dan Patrick on AT&T's Audience Net and on DirecTV. I know a lot of people have DirecTV, and he did an hour-long interview there. So lots was covered there, including a great street fight story and many stories from boxing and MMA. Now, the live viewing, the live taping has passed, but I went on there today just to check because I wanted Goes to see it, and so it is available. Like, we have DirecTV, and if you go on 101 or 239, for example, or obviously check your satellite and cable listings, there are replays 7, 10 p.m. Eastern, both Eastern and Pacific, I should say. Then again at 1 a.m., then 7 a.m., then 10 again on Saturday. So pretty much all day, it seemed like 10, 7, 1, 10, 7, 1. And it's very easy, just record it, and I think you'll really, really like it. He is a former professional boxer, and now you can see him in the corner of many great fighters like Manny Pacquiao, for example. I've seen him in Amir Khan's corner. And then in MMA, Aaron Pico, George St. Pierre. So very, very successful, and we're hoping to catch up with him here in a couple minutes.
All right, here it is.
Okay.
So, Dan, look at this guy. That's George in high school, and then that's the guy that he said.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally could see. Yeah, I could totally see the strong facial features there.
Right
yeah.
Hey, you got guys.
That's a pull, man.
What I mean? What can I do? That was my job, was to just.
I got for a year.
Bust balls and instigate. You just
Style.
instigated Jerry Cooney and Randy Gordon. You're no saint,
my brother.
All right. Speaking of boxing, I was looking to see. You talk about MMA is busy. I'm not gonna go through all the cards, but look, this is just, if you like boxing and you don't feel like there's enough of it, let me just tell you what's going on here on February 22nd, which is today, in Kissimmee, Florida. On Telemundo, there's 6 fights. Huntington, New York, Star Boxing Facebook, there's about 7 or 8 fights. Tonight in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, there's about 7 or 8 fights. South Africa in Kempton Park, so that already happened. Budapest, Hungary, that already happened. In London, same thing. This is just on the 22nd. Melbourne, Australia. February 23rd, tomorrow, Minneapolis, Fox Sports 1, Fox Deportes. Anthony Durrell is fighting there for the vacant WBC super middleweight title versus Avni Yildirim. February 23rd, Showtime. James DeGale versus Chris Eubank, super middleweights there. On DAZN out of Tijuana, Mexico, Brandon Rios versus Humberto Soto. We've actually seen Brandon Rios fight in person, Goes.
Yeah, a couple times.
February 23rd, Maidstone, England, Lenny Fuller versus Danny Little. February 23rd, Lincoln, Rhode Island, Shelly Vincent versus Adina Kiss. But all these are like 7, 8 deep as far as like boxing matches. 23rd, Philadelphia. 23rd, Charlotte, North Carolina. Managua, Nicaragua. Scranton, Pennsylvania. 26th, they're back in Tokyo, Japan. I mean, crazy. And there's boxing as well on the UFC Fight Pass, but that's February 28th in Topanish, Washington. March 1st, Hollywood, Florida on Telemundo. So boxing's blowing up. So shout out to our guys at the fights, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Catch Randy Gordon and Jerry Cooney as they break down some of the big matches that have taken place or that are upcoming, and of course they land some really, really great interviews. So shout out to those guys. Jumbo Josh is also on that squad. All right, we're going to take one more break right now. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
Fantasy Sports Radio has you covered no matter which fantasy sport you play or where you get a piece of the action. You need to go with Fantasy Sports Radio. Start your day talking fantasy football with the guru, John Hansen, at 7 Eastern. Then prepare for your fantasy baseball drafts with former big league general manager Jim Bowden. And you can do that on the GM and the commish. Here, winning information for all sports you love every day, every day. You love all day, every day on Fantasy Sports Radio, Series 210, XM87, and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. All right, joining us now on the hotline is one of the legends of boxing, Freddie Roach. Hey, Freddie, how you doing? Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio.
Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Great, thank you. Awesome, man, that you got together with Dan Patrick. Undeniable with Dan Patrick on AT&T's AudienceNet. And I wanted to ask you, Freddie, all these interviews you've done over the years, you know, whether it be for MMA, because you obviously corner MMA guys, and boxing, whether as a boxer or everything, have you ever been able to get out everything you've wanted to get out? Or do people just stick to the combat sports and not ask you about other passions you may have?
You know, it was funny. It was different with Dan Patrick. Dan did his homework. He really knew my life very well. He knew my alias. He knew that. He knew much more than I thought anyone could acquire. And he just did his homework. And he talked to the right people. And I think his interview was like my best one ever, I feel, because it was honest and he knew more about me than anybody.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And again, folks, I was mentioning to our audience earlier, the replay, Undeniable with Dan Patrick, is everywhere. So I'm a direct-to-read consumer, but I looked, and this thing's being shown all weekends, all weekend long, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern, Pacific, and then 1 a.m., same thing, Eastern and Pacific, and then tomorrow all day. So I was able to record it yet again. But catch Freddie Roach on Undeniable with Dan Patrick. Freddie, so since we're an MMA show, I did want to ask you about what you thought of the retirement of George St. Pierre, a gentleman you worked with very closely.
Yeah, I've worked with George for about 6 years now, and he's one of the best guys in the world. And I'm disappointed that he's retiring, but yeah, I thought I knew he had at least one more fight in him, and I thought we'd get through that, but unfortunately we couldn't, and so he decided to retire. It's a little bit sad, but he's had a great career, and he's a great person, and he'll be one of my best friends for life.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Do you have a favorite GSP story, or maybe can you share the first time you ever met him, or he walked into your gym, you know, what he was like then to what he was till the last day the last time you cornered him or worked with him?
Yeah, you know, it's been really good. I mean, when he came to my gym, he came to the Philippines with me with Manny Pacquiao, and he was embarrassed about trying to work out after Pacquiao's workout because he says, I can't keep up with his speed and so forth. So he was down in his car, and he wouldn't come up into the gym, and then I had to go down and get him, and I walked him up, and I walked him right over to Manny's dressing room. Manny was in to get dressed by himself, and I stuck him right in there so them two could get to know each other. And it worked out very well. We had a great workout with both guys, and it was a new audience for him and with the Filipinos, and it's a very likable audience.
That's great to hear. All right, Goes, what do you have for Freddie Roach?
Freddie, an interview like that, just so in-depth and all about you. What were your nerves like before that? Do you get nervous for something like that? Because every now and again, like you said, not that you have skeletons in your closet, but sometimes people just bring up stuff that you forget about, or that you just, you know, you weren't expecting to happen in an interview. Do you get nervous for things like that?
Not too often. I mean, I get a little butterflies still, just being anxious of what they're going to ask. And then with Dan Patrick and the questions that he asked me and so forth, I was like, I had forgotten some of those stories. And he brought them back to life, and you know, I'm sure he got them from my boss when I was a telemarketer, and it was a long time ago. And I was wondering, how did he get a hold of him? He's a very difficult person to get a hold of. I mean, I have trouble, and but Dan, he made me feel really comfortable. I was very honest on the show, and the questions led to like some crazy nights, and I've had them in my life, and it's been a great experience.
You know, Freddie, I grew up watching you through boxing, and I never thought I would see you come over to the MMA side, and I saw that. And then now this new thing's starting to pop up, and I wanted to get your take on it. The bare-knuckle boxing that we've been seeing. Some boxers do, some mixed martial artists have done it. What's your take on bare-knuckle boxing?
Well, I was in a lot of street fights in my life, so I think that I probably would have done okay with bare knuckle boxing because I never hurt my hands without gloves on. I only broke my hands when I had gloves on and so forth. And a number of street fights I've been in my life and so forth, bare knuckle, I've never really hurt my hands. So maybe that would be a plus side for me.
All right. Dan Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for Freddie Roach?
Hey, Freddie, big fan. Just one question, kind of a random one that kind of ties to GSP. Every once in a while, I like going way back in history into boxing and finding boxers that we don't really talk about. And I found one named Eder Joffrey, the Golden Bantamweight. He, like GSP, also retired with only 2 losses. And even though George came back after Johnny Hendricks to win the middleweight title, like Eder Joffrey, he kind of had a rough unanimous decision win and used that, even though he won, he used that as a sign to kind of get out on top, if you will. Am I wrong by seeing those parallels? And are you a fan of the younger weight classes before your time, even like an Eder Joffrey?
Yeah, you know, the thing is, I mean, retiring is very difficult. I mean, I retired at 27. People say, you were so young, though. I said, I had 54 pro fights, so I said, I wasn't that young in the number of fights in the wars. And then, you know, Marvin Hagler loses to Sugar Ray Leonard and won't fight a rematch, and very unusual. I mean, Hagler's a very good friend of mine, and so he lives in Italy, and he's doing very well, but, you know, he was offered so much for that rematch with Leonard, it was just outrageous numbers, and everybody thought it would happen, and he was so embarrassed that he thought he won the first fight, and he just moved to Italy and became a different person.
Freddie, I know we're jumping around here. We just got 1 minute left. How about Aaron Pico? How long would you like him to sit out before he comes back? He took a bad KO there, but he's got such a bright future. Yeah. Amazing wrestler, great hands. What would you advise?
Yeah, Aaron Pico, he does need a little time off right now, and he's still having a little bit of trouble getting over what happened. And he made a young man's mistake, and you know, again, mistakes can be fixed. So he does have a bright future. I think he's going to be great. But, you know, I think the suspension, they gave us 69-day suspension, and we'll stick it out as long as we have to, and then we'll be back in the gym and just working on not making those mistakes anymore.
Folks,
he's a young man, though, and these things happen.
Folks, catch Freddie Roach all weekend long. It's replaying. It's undeniable with Dan Patrick on AT&T's Audience Net. And aside from that, you can catch him on DirecTV, Channel 101 or Channel 239 if that's what you got. It's an amazing interview. And, Freddie, thank you so much for popping in here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
Okay. We'll see you. All right, folks, there you have it. That's Freddie Roach. Big shout-out to Jumbo Josh for lining that up. And we're up against the clock here. And now Jessica Andrade is going to join us in studio here. She'll be battling Rose Namajunas at UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So we'll ask the title challenger how she's feeling as she's beginning her camp, because that event takes place on May 11th, again in Rio de Janeiro, and it's for the UFC strawweight title. Don't touch that dial, folks. This is going to be a good one.
Blah, blah, blah. Here are those two dummies, George and Goes.
All right, we're back. And now we're joined in studio by Jessica Andrade, who will be facing Rose Namajunas at UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Jessica will be challenging Rose for her UFC strawweight title. And we're also joined in studio by her manager, Thiago. Thiago or Thiago? Thiago, right? Yeah. Right, okay. Thiago will also translate. So welcome, Jessica. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks so much.
All right, she knows that part, right?
A
Yeah.
little
bit, yeah. I think you know more than you're leading on.
Eu acho que você entende mais do que você tá.
Eu entendo mais do que eu falo, realmente.
Yeah, I do understand more than I can speak, but
okay.
Still.
So we just heard a few days ago they're switching from Curitiba to Rio de Janeiro. Do you guys know why? Anybody explain that?
Então, eles acabaram de anunciar que mudou o card, né, de Curitiba pro Rio. Você falaram alguma coisa pra você sobre o porquê disso ter acontecido?
Então, na verdade, não estava certo, né, da luta acontecer em Curitiba. A gente tinha assinado o contrato, mas no contrato tinha uma cláusula dizendo que não tinha o local ainda. Poderia ser em Curitiba, ou no Rio, ou em São Paulo. Então, meio que quando a gente clicava ali o UFC, a data, dava em Curitiba e foi mudado agora para o Rio. Mas, para mim, o importante é lutar em casa, estar ali perto do público brasileiro. E eu acho que não chegaram a me explicar o porquê da mudança.
So the thing is, when I signed the contract, there wasn't really a location. It was still to be determined.
Oh, okay.
So we did hear about Curitiba. You know, it was supposed to be in Brazil. For us, it would be pretty nice because that's close to where she comes from.
Curitiba is?
Yeah, she's from Umuarama, which is about like 2 hours from Curitiba. And
that's where she lives now.
No, she lives in Rio.
Rio, right? That's what I thought.
Right next to Rio, Niterói is like the city right at that. You just go over the bridge and you're in Rio.
Right.
And so there wasn't really a city until that we were told about. But like now that they didn't give us a reason because they didn't even give us the city first.
Right.
So
and Anderson Silva didn't help things out, right? He kept mentioning Curitiba and other people kept mentioning.
But then again, like it's not something that Jessica said, but Curitiba only really has 2 sizes of arenas. It's huge, or it's way too small for the UFC.
Gotcha.
So either they have a show for 50,000 people, or they have a show for like 3.
That's it? 3?
So yeah, so pretty much, I think that what probably happened is they didn't get the card that they wanted to fill out a 50,000 seat arena, and then move to the location in Rio where they're more
still
used
3
to
months
doing
away. You figured they could have performed a miracle here or there, right?
Yeah, but I think like the expense that you go through just putting on a show that big.
Connor was saying he wants to fight over there. Imagine like Connor and Aldo, or Connor and Cowboy or whatever, and then the title fight. Boom, 1-2 punch. Let's do it.
Yeah, we did hear like at some point that they want to try to do all female weight classes belts being defended on the same card.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I think their main focus, I would imagine, would be to have Cyborg fighting for the belt, having a rematch there.
Gotcha.
That will probably help sell out the arena.
Okay.
You have that, then maybe Anderson, Aldo has to fight there too, but I think something didn't happen, and that's why they had to move.
So you live in Rio, so you're happy that it's in Rio.
Então você vive no Rio e então você está feliz de estar no Rio.
Exatamente. E eu acredito também que pelo calor que está no Rio de Janeiro, né, acredito que vai prejudicar um pouco a Rose também. Então isso aí é ótimo, né?
The thing, like, I really like to be in Rio because, you know, I'm about an hour away from the arena, and it's really hot in Rio right now. So Rose is probably gonna have to deal with that, and that's gonna be a problem.
Well, but the fight's in May, so that'll be what, like spring? No, it'll be entering winter, right?
A luta vai ser em maio, né? Então já vai estar começando a esfriar, vai estar perto do inverno, né?
Mas mesmo assim ainda continua muito quente, vai estar bem abafado, então acredito que vai assim prejudicar um pouco por ela viver aqui e aqui o clima ser mais frio do que quente, né? Então acredito que vai ser uma boa luta pra mim, e lutar em casa também com essa pressão dela escutar vai morrer, acho que vai ser muito bom.
Yeah, the thing is, it's gonna be getting close to winter, but it's still winter in Rio. So
yeah, it's
the
humid.
weather,
it's always humid.
It's humid.
Too.
It's still gonna be warm, so it's gonna be a bit different from what she used to in Colorado, and you have the added pressure of having the Brazilian crowd chanting, chanting the good old vai morrer.
Por que vai morrer? Nunca nasce morrer.
Pois é, eu também não sei. Eu acho que o brasileiro gosta muito desse negócio de ver a gente lá dentro, batendo no outro e fazendo a pessoa desmaiar, e aí eles acham que a pessoa já morreu, e é bem assim.
So I asked her why you're gonna die, when in the history of Brazilian sports, I don't think no one's ever died. We don't want that. So why not like, you're gonna get your ass kicked, you're gonna get your ass kicked? Like, they can't change it or something?
Por que em vez de falar vai morrer, porque eles não falam você vai tomar um espanco ou uma coisa assim? Porque ninguém nunca morreu lutando no MMA, né?
Eu acho que que é mais fácil falar vai morrer do que vou te espancar, né? Vai...
It doesn't fly off the tongue, right?
Yeah, it just sounds better.
Well, Thiago, you could have a better representation too. What were you singing over there?
Me? No.
How did you say it?
That's the translation?
Yeah.
We were going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, like, in English it sounded better. You're going to get your ass kicked. You're going to get your ass kicked. You're going to get your ass kicked.
And the thing is, like,
when Thiago said
it's not necessarily like an MMA thing. Like, that has been going around for
the soccer thing too, I've heard
it,
right?
Forever,
that's in a lot of sports?
Yeah, pretty much everything. Like, they'll just be teasing people with that. So
how about just you're going to lose? That's not too bad, right?
I guess it just doesn't have the ring for it.
Okay, all right.
Jessica, when you look at Rose's fights, okay, and you look at her losses, is there one thing in particular that you could say was the same in all 3 losses, something in common?
Assistindo as lutas da Rose, tem alguma coisa que você consegue fazer um paralelo entre as 3 derrotas que ela teve? Alguma coisa que dá para de repente você trabalhar na luta?
Bom, acredito que a Rose ela vem evoluindo muito, né, das últimas lutas dela para cá, né? Se você fazer um comparativo das primeiras lutas dela no UFC e as últimas lutas, a gente consegue ver a tremenda evolução que ela teve na categoria, né? Acho que ela melhorou tanto a parte de trocação quanto a parte de chão, mas eu acredito que nas duas áreas eu consigo me sair muito bem. Estou treinando para isso, para não deixar brechas, porque a Joana teve a chance de caminhar e achar a distância e bater e sair. Provavelmente a Rose queira fazer a mesma coisa e eu já treinei para isso, não vou deixar isso acontecer. Duvido que isso vá acontecer novamente.
You know, Rose had a really big evolution in her style and in her performances in the UFC. If you look at what she did early on and what she has done in her later fights, you know, it's a very much improved fighter. But in my case, in my fight against her, I think it's not that much about what she has done wrong, but more what I have done wrong and what had cost me fights before. And that's what we were working on more than anything. I know that our styles match up well together, and I think I can beat her. But it's more about not letting her beat me than me beating her.
Yeah, I like what she said about the styles make matchups, because this is one of the fights where I think if they fought 10 times, you would have 10 different fights. There's so many different scenarios of how this can play out. And a lot of MMA fans like to use what's called MMA math, right? She's beaten somebody who's beaten you, but you've beaten a few people that have beaten her. It just seems like there's so many different routes in this fight. Does she feel like not only is she going to fight her this one time, but possibly even see her more times throughout her career?
Então, pensando na questão dos estilos e como eles se combinam, né? Se tem a impressão de que a luta pode rodar de diversos jeitos, né? E os fãs usam muito a coisa da matemática de ela bateu na Joana, Joana bateu em você bateu na Carolina, e isso acho que afeta um pouco na decisão do pessoal de como enxerga a luta. Mas como que você vê que essa luta pode desenrolar, pensando que de repente você pode lutar mais de uma vez, pode ter diversos jeitos, né?
Eu acredito que assim, por cada luta ser uma luta diferente, lutar com a Rose, mesmo a Rose tendo vencido a Joana, né? Todo mundo tá falando que eu sou a favorita, que eu tenho mais chances de vencer a Namajunas pelo estilo de luta, né? Porque eu tenho mais força, eu consigo colocar a luta na grade, agarrar, colocar para baixo, trabalhar um ground and pound. Mas eu tô entrando como zebra, né? Ela venceu, pra mim ela venceu da Joana e eu não ganhei. Então eu tô entrando como uma pessoa que tá buscando ainda a vitória, né? Eu ainda não consegui, então eu vou entrar, vou dar meu máximo lá dentro, e mesmo que o estilo de luta seja bem parecido, eu acredito que tem poucas coisas que eu sou melhor do que ela, tanto na força, acho que na caminhada, isso aí eu mudei bastante coisa, então vou surpreender ela.
So that's the thing, like I think that my style really like plays along with a lot of the things that she does. You know, I think that I know that I'm stronger than her, that I don't have much question about it, and I think that if I can get her to the ground, then I can probably work a ground and pound, you know, make her pay a little bit. And it is a 5-round fight, so you gotta see where it goes, but I don't see an early finish there at all. And again, like, she does have a lot of little holes that I can work with, and I know that she's studying tape on me, and she knows what I have done before and how that can be a problem. So we'll see. You know, I'm just making sure that I'm the best that I can be. You know, just working on the problems that I've had before to guarantee that when I get in there, you know, I'm ready to beat anyone, not just be Rose.
Our guest is Jessica Andrade. She will be challenging Rose Namajunas for Rose's strawweight title, UFC strawweight title, on May 11th at UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And check out the wins that Jessica has. She's beaten Jessica Penne, who's a former Invicta champion. She's beaten Joanne Calderwood, who's on her own streak right now at flyweight, I think 2 or 3 in a row. Angela Hill, who was also an Invicta strawweight champion. Claudia Gadelha, who's a long time, like, top 2, top 3 strawweight in the world. Tisha Torres, long time top 10 fighter in the world as well. And Karolina Kowalkiewicz, also a title contender, also a top 5 fighter for a long time. So you've had a remarkable run as a strawweight.
E você realmente teve uma sequência muito bacana no peso palha, né? Citou todos os nomes que bateu e tudo mais.
Foi um trabalho muito bem feito da minha equipe, né? Junto com o Thiago, o Mestre Paraná, a gente conseguiu fazer essas lutas, né? E cada uma tem um estilo de luta diferente, né? A Angela Hills, que era uma menina muito agressiva na parte de trocação, que todo mundo queria colocar a luta para baixo com ela e acabava a luta mais rápido. Eu falei, não, eu vou trocar com ela, eu quero medir a minha força, eu quero medir a minha técnica, e deu tudo certo. A Caroline, que foi a última, né, que era uma exímia trocadora, e foi assim rapidíssimo a luta. Então,
muito rápido.
Muito rápido. Então acredito que eu venho mostrando sim a minha evolução tanto na trocação quanto na parte de chão, né, com a Cláudia Gadelha, que é exímio jiu-jiteira, né, e eu consegui entrar no jogo e fazer o jogo que era para ela ter feito e consegui ir bem, né, no que é o jogo dela. Então acredito que a minha estratégia é sempre essa, lutar com o ponto forte do meu adversário, né. Se a Rose quer trocar, a gente vai trocar. Se não der, eu vou colocar pra baixo e aí a gente termina no chão. Só o jiu-jitsu salva. Mas fora isso, eu vou tentar trabalhar no ponto fraco dela.
So the thing is, like, I believe we did a really good work, like, as a team to get her to the point where she is. You know, now at strawweight. One of the good things is we had a lot of time to work. You know, when she fought Angela Hill, okay, let's see how the striking goes. Let's just try to go and do what she does best and see how it goes. When she fought Claudia, you know, it was at Claudia's strength that she ended up winning the fight. And Carolina, she was expecting a really good striking match, and boom, big hand entered. And that's the big thing. Like, we were able to use the fights in the UFC to evolve and to get, you know, better and better and better. And when it comes time to fight Rose, you know, we can do what she wants. We can do the groundwork. We can make it, get the fight standing up. I believe, like, right now, I'm at the best point that I have been in my career. You know, groundwork is on point, striking is on point, so I'm pretty much ready to whatever comes.
And you're the favorite. You're minus 160, according to the odds makers. Rose, the champion, is the underdog at plus 130. What they take into account is your skill sets and a little bit of your popularity. So that's a pretty impressive line. Not too often is the challenger the favorite.
As linhas de apostas estão com você como favorita, né? E não é muito comum isso acontecer. Você tá uma favorita bem grande até em relação à campeã. O que você pensa disso, né? E levando em conta, né? Eles levam em conta a popularidade do atleta, as habilidades dele e tudo mais.
Eu acredito que eu seja a zebra, né? Eu gosto de entrar como a zebra porque eu entro lá e eu faço a diferença. Mas como hoje todo mundo fala que eu sou a favorita e tudo mais, eu vou entrar com a minha cabeça consciente que eu tenho que lutar. Eu tenho que lutar de verdade, eu tenho que dar o meu melhor e não existe esse de favorito, porque cada luta é uma luta. Uma hora a mão dela pode entrar, eu posso cair, assim como aconteceu com a Joana, e aí tudo pode ser diferente, né? Então eu tô entrando com a cabeça confiante de que eu não sou a favorita e que eu tenho que dar o meu melhor lá dentro.
So the thing is, like, we understand how the betting lines work, and, you know, it's cool that the fans are seeing the fight that way, but in my head, I'm coming in as an underdog. like I always try to do. You know, I don't believe that I'm better than anybody, and I know that I have to overcome whatever is in front of me. You know, and that's the thing. She's the champion for a reason, and you gotta go there and you gotta beat the champ to become the champ. I know that I can't coast on a fight. I gotta go there and probably get a finish or just work my best to dominate in order to get that belt. And that's the whole plan. You know, I just gotta go in there and impose my game. And you know, if the lines are right, you know, maybe a lot of people are gonna make a little bit of money on me. If not, then I'm just gotta go against it and try to make it work.
Just saying all the right things, huh?
She sure is. And I'll tell you one thing though. You said the word coast. She never coasts. I mean, she is nonstop, folks. Jessica Andrade goes out there and fucks people up. That's the best way I can put it. Whether it's punches, ground and pound, slams, suplexes, it doesn't matter, man. You're very exciting because of the high pace that you carry in your fights. So one thing's for sure, this fight is not going to suck. Again, UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It will be a pay-per-view. Also on that card is Jared Cannonier and Anderson Silva. I'm sure it'll continue filling, but it's still 3 months away. But I'm really, really excited about this fight.
I want Jessica to educate me on something because I think I may have been saying the wrong thing, but I'm not sure. The females in mixed martial arts have created their own identity over time now. But whenever I talk about your fighting style, I compare you to Wanderlei Silva, okay? And I've heard that from other people as well, but I don't know if it's right to compare a female mixed martial artist to a male mixed martial artist. Like, I don't know if that's offensive or not. How do you feel when people do that? Should we be just saying that's your style, or do you kind of like it? You know, Wanderlei Silva is a big figurehead in Brazil.
Então, ele, tipo, você corrigir ele se ele estiver errado, porque quando ele fala do teu estilo de trocação, ele fala que você é como se fosse uma Wanderlei Silva. Mas se ele tá perguntando se acha que é uma coisa que é ofensiva de estar comparando uma atleta feminina com um atleta do masculino, ou se é uma coisa que você acha que não tem problema, né? Que se
Não, eu não acho que tenha problema não, porque ser comparado com um dos maiores ícones, né, do MMA, um cara que fez história no UFC, no Pride, então acho que pra mim isso é uma grande honra, né, e ver que eu ser comparado a um cara que todo mundo tinha medo de entrar e lutar com ele, isso aí é maravilhoso. Eu fico muito feliz de saber que eu tenho essas comparações, né, tanto com ele quanto com a Chris Borg.
Yeah, I think there's no problem at all. Like, I have no issue being compared to one of the greatest ever, you know, and be compared to someone that had the success that he did in Pride and later on in the UFC, and someone that we know from the history books that everybody was afraid of standing in front of them. I guess it's a compliment. Yeah. And like being compared to him, and some folks talk about her, comparing her to Cyborg. No, either way, there's great fighters, and being compared to them is not a problem at all.
Well, there's only one thing that's off on the comparison, and I just don't know how good is her. Can you do that?
A única coisa que ele não sabe é quanto bom é a tua quebra de munheca.
Acho que tá bom.
Não, isso não é bom.
Bota mais vontade.
Fica assim, intense.
Yeah.
So bom. All right. I'm still I can't stop staring at that hit list.
Yeah.
For whatever
it's
reason, we've covered her on the show before. We've promoted her fights, and then maybe we spend so much time focusing on that one particular fight. But that's an So Jessica's history is she started off 7-1, and like the losses she has are the quality. Some now flyweights, but at the time bantamweights, because there really wasn't a flyweight division for a while. So she's taken a loss to Jennifer Maia, Liz Carmouche, Marion Renault, and Raquel Pennington. But I can tell you right now, on all of the USA Today sports rankings, MMAjunkie rankings, all those fighters are ranked. But ever since she dropped, she's gone 6-1. Her only loss was to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's gotten 4 bonuses, and she's coming off a devastating KO punch over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. But still, Penne, Calderwood, Hill, Gadelia, Torres, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I mean, that is really, really a nice run you're on. Best decision you ever made. Now, I want to ask you, though, and you don't have to summarize everything else. I think she can understand that I'm saying great things about her. But but what I want to know is if she did bantam and she went down to straw, and I know maybe she doesn't want to forecast past her fight, but now that flyweight opened up, will that be attractive for her at some point down the road, or is strawweight it for her?
Ele falou super bem da tua carreira, né? Pontuou o pessoal que se lutou. E na época que você desceu, você foi de 61 pro 52, mas não tinha 57. Agora que existe o 57, é uma coisa que passa na tua cabeça.
Pois é, quando existia a categoria do 61, eu jamais imaginava que eu ia lutar no 52. Inclusive as pessoas perguntavam pra mim, Jess, você não tem vontade de lutar no 52? Eu falava assim, não, só se eu arrancar uma perna pra poder lutar no 52. E hoje, com essa categoria do 57, é uma coisa que é possível, né? Eu já lutava no 61, hoje a gente tem uma categoria que é intermediária no meio das duas categorias. E eu acredito que se surgisse uma oportunidade de fazer uma luta especial no 5-7, eu faço sim, com certeza, não tem problema nenhum.
The thing is, like, now I think I found my place at strawweight. That's where I think I fit the best, where I can have the most advantages with my physique and everything. But you never know. If there's like a special fight to do at flyweight, maybe some less noticed things, some fight that I'm interested in doing, someone that I want to face, that could probably work. And just for the record, like, we were at the PI, and she just weighed in, and she's 145 right now.
Jessica?
Yeah.
145? No way.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Really? Oh.
She's quite compact.
She doesn't seem 145 at all.
Yeah.
So she still has 30 pounds to go in 90 days.
And
well, you're in the right place because they got the body chemistry and the nutrition, and you like the PI?
Gostou do PI?
Gostei. Very good. Muito bom.
Yeah.
Bom.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. They did a lot of tests on her, you know, just figuring out some stuff. Like, another interesting info that we got today was that they did like body mass, muscle mass, bone density. Her bone density she's on the top 2% of women her size.
Oh, wow.
And muscle mass, she's on the 1%.
Damn.
So I guess the weight class is the right one.
I don't want to cause waves or anything, but did they raise an eyebrow at being 30 pounds over her fighting weight? You know, that's somehow a concern. Well, sorry, I'm not phrasing that. That is a concern in MMA. We don't want the athletes suffering too much.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, they did the body scan for everything, and the summary said, you know, she's a bigger strawweight, but strawweight is the weight class for her, considering her body mass and muscle mass and everything.
What's your favorite American food?
Qual a sua comida favorita americana?
Buffalo wings.
Buffalo wings?
Na verdade eu gosto de comer tudo, né? Quando eu venho pra cá. Mexicano, tailandês, buffalo wings, tudo que tem um pouquinho de pimenta é gostoso.
That's the thing, like, whenever she comes here, she, you know, after fights and stuff, she would just have everything that is different, because back home there's a lot of stuff that we don't have. Yeah. So we will have Thai food, we will have Mexican food, we will have the wings, and she's a good eater.
All right, Jessica, I got another couple more for you here. You're 27 years old. How much longer do you want to fight?
Então você tá com 27 anos de idade já. Até quando você acha que você consegue continuar lutando?
Olha, eu tenho vontade de lutar aí até uns 35, mais ou menos, se tudo correr bem. Até uns 35, mais ou menos, 35, 36. Mas a gente vai de acordo com o nosso corpo, né? Vai que eu consigo ir mais do que os 36, aí eu vou continuar. Quando eu ver que o corpo ainda tá funcionando, eu vou ir.
You know, I would like to go up to maybe 35, but then again, you gotta feel the body, you know, and at some point the body's gonna say that you gotta stop. But who knows? Maybe it doesn't say she has to stop at 35. She might be fighting after 35. You never know when she's gonna stop.
Depois disso, virar embaixadora do UFC no Brasil.
And after that, maybe she can get a ambassador job for the UFC in Brazil.
Oh, like Big Nogueira.
Maybe,
mas eu vou ter que aprender a falar inglês, né? Até lá.
She's gonna have to learn some English too.
Inglês tem que falar.
Né? Senão, como é que eu vou?
Pode falar pouquinho?
I'm sorry, I don't speak English.
How are you going to be an ambassador if you don't speak English?
Mas como é que vai ser embaixadora sem inglês?
Mas eu vou ter que aprender, não vou aprender. Até lá, ano que vem, vocês vão ver. Já vou estar craque no inglês.
You gotta see, like, maybe by next year, we'll be there.
Okay, here's why I asked her about how many fights left. Because Cyborg has said, I may only have one left. Now, recently, she said two. Sorry, Nunes. Cyborg has also said at one point, you know, that she wasn't going to fight too much longer. Miesha Tate just one day retired. Like, I knew she lost her title to Nunes, but I was shocked when she retired after the Pennington fight. And Mackenzie Dern is now announced to the world that she's pregnant, you know. So for different even Nina Ansaroff as well wants to start a family. So now that we're learning more about women's MMA, and now we have, you know, a good 10, 12 years to build on since Carano and all them got things going on the big spotlight. We're learning more, but what I'm trying to figure out is what's that number, I guess, that creeps up into a woman's age where they start thinking, hey, I may want to exit. I got the guys down. The lighter weight guys, 35. The heavier weight guys, 40. Sometimes a little bit more. I'm trying to figure out the ladies.
Então, ele tá tentando entender mais ou menos, né? Porque ele já conseguiu achar um denominador comum para o peso mais leve, masculino, o pessoal quer parar com 35, pessoa mais pesada, até uns 40. E então, tem diversos motivos por qual uma mulher pode parar, né? Querer montar família, essas coisas. E aonde que você acha que estaria esse número onde você acha que a maioria da mulherada estaria pensando em parar?
Olha, eu acho que a maioria das mulheres que ainda não tem filhos e querem ter filhos, eu acho que provavelmente até menos de 30, né? Porque o corpo feminino é diferente do masculino, né? Chega uma hora que a mulher não pode mais ter filhos, né? É prejudicial para ela, para a criança. Então eu acredito que as mulheres que lutam e que querem ter filhos, eu acho que até menos de 20 anos. Mas as que já têm e que, na verdade, querem só seguir a carreira, que nem a Reneal, que já tem filho, já tem tudo, então eu acho que ela vai correr mais ainda a carreira dela, até uns 37, 38. Depende muito da mulher e do organismo, né? A mulher é um caso que é muito diferente. A mulher, ela gosta de estar ali lutando, gosta de dar o melhor, e a gente às vezes não sabe a hora de parar, entendeu? Então, acontece.
You know, with women it's a little bit different, you know, because if you want to raise a family, there is a time stamp there where you can still do it for women. For men, you can pretty much get it done whenever you want, but if you want to raise a family as a woman, most people would say 30s, maybe a little bit before that. But it changes a lot from people to people. But maybe if you have a kid early, you can come back to fighting.
Yeah.
Renault,
like Kat Zingano, maybe. Yeah.
Andrade has a kid.
Andrade has a kid. Yeah.
So, and one thing that people say that women really only get their like woman strength after they have a baby.
Oh
yeah.
And I think it comes a lot like I thought it was maybe hormonal, but I think it's a little bit physiological where you have to carry a little packet of rice everywhere you go, so it's kind of like you're doing like strength and conditioning full force for like a long time with no rest. So I think that actually does change women quite a bit on the strength side. So but then like I think for Jessica at least 35ish is probably where that limit is.
Okay. Do you feel like if you win the title, defend it, maybe you might be considered one of the best, if not the best, female Brazilian fighter, or maybe I guess even Brazilian fighter ever?
Você acha que ganhando esse cinturão você acha que você vai ser considerada uma das melhores lutadoras brasileiras no momento, ou de todos os tempos, né, já que a categoria feminina é tão nova ainda?
Acredito que passo a passo galgando ali e tudo, com certeza acho que eu vou ter, um dia eu vou ter esse título de melhor lutadora do Brasil. Mas a gente tem a Amanda Nunes aí, que também já tá com 2 cinturões, né? Então tá fazendo história também, tanto no UFC quanto no MMA. Então acho que ainda tem muito a batalhar. Quem sabe se eu ganhar 3 cinturões aí eu passo na frente dela e aí dá tudo certo.
That's the thing, like I really want to be in the history books, and I know that getting a belt is a big thing. You know, it's one way of guaranteeing that you're going to be remembered. But as far as being the best, Amanda has 2 belts. You know, so what I have to do to get ahead before, you know, in front of her, get 3. It's gonna be rough. Getting 3 belts.
Acho que na simpatia eu ganho.
I am nicer though, so maybe.
What do you
on that aspect maybe?
What do you guys think of GSP's retirement? I'd like both of you to answer.
O que você achou da aposentadoria do George St. Pierre que ele acabou de anunciar?
Pois é, o George, eu acho que ele não devia ter se aposentado da primeira vez, né? Eu acho que ele ainda tinha muito para mostrar, era um cara que pra mim eu sempre fui muito fã, mas aí quis se aposentar e depois sentiu aquela vontade de novo, porque lutador é assim, né? Quando a gente sai de uma coisa, a gente sente aquela vontade de sentir de novo aquele braço erguido, aquela emoção, aquela ansiedade, aquele nervosismo de lutar, e aí ele quis voltar de novo e reviver tudo aquilo, e aí logo em seguida já de novo se aposentou. Então acredito que cada um tem o seu tempo, né? Chega uma hora que o corpo diz, não dá mais e acabou. E a nossa cabeça é assim, a gente quer, mas infelizmente o corpo fala mais alto. Fiquei triste, né? Era um cara que eu sempre fui muito fã, mas fazer parte, né?
That's the thing. Like I was a little bit upset about him retiring, but then again, his proper retirement was a few years ago. You know, this was just an extra fight. You know, and we know that fighters have that feeling where they really like. After a while, you have that fire in you that you need to, you know, be put in competition against someone to try to get your arm raised, and for sure that's something that happened not just to him but to so many others. And I know that when I do retire, eventually the fire is gonna be lit under that, and who knows, maybe I'll come back. That's I think probably the reason why so many MMA retirements are only temporary. You know, pretty much everybody just says, okay, I'm done. But then the age comes and you gotta do it again. And he was one of the best, you know, you could say that he was the best of all time. And the first time he retired, that one was way too early. You know, we would have liked to see him fight, you know, for a couple more years maybe back then, and we didn't really see the need for the return now. Yeah. He could have maybe finished that whole cycle at once without the need to the extra fight now.
I have kind of a silly question, and it's for all of us. The testing at the PI, the bone density, the muscle mass, the correct weight, all that. In America, they say that the biggest fear for Americans is public speaking. And I understand that. If we had to go in and do that test, I would probably be sweating. I would be very nervous because I know I ain't what I'm supposed to be as far as weight. Did she feel that same way, like an anxiety towards it, or was it more like an excitement to know where she's at? And you two guys, too, answer that. Wouldn't you kind of feel that? Like, Tiago, when you were there, were you just kind of like, oh, what's going on?
That's the thing. Like,
I wouldn't want to walk in that room.
I was really curious to see how I would do, just to have a parameter of what a regular person looks like and what a proper high-level athlete looks like. I know it would suck because I would look really terrible compared to it, but it would be nice, I think, to just see what a regular person looks like compared to them. Because it's tough. Like, when you look at her numbers, you're like, okay, they're good, I guess, but what does a regular person look like? You know, we did see numbers of other fighters, but okay, we know that they're at a high level, but it's hard to compare to, you know, just to have a standard to.
Was that public, those other numbers, or was that private?
Some of the stuff, not the bone density and that, but there were some other tests where they had, because when you do some of the tests, they ask if you would allow them to, you know, release them for.
So what are some numbers that are public that you can tell us like, oh, so-and-so's got the best standing jump or something like that?
No, it wasn't even on that side. It was like some, they have this program called Omega Wave where they can figure out how well you are in the morning to see what you can do during the day as far as training goes. And on that thing, they had like Henry Cejudo was like the big guy that they were showing it, and they had like his results from when he fought Demetrius Johnson and the title fight afterwards.
Oh wow!
So that was pretty interesting. And on this readiness test, they also had the Chinese kayaking team, Olympic team.
Really?
They're at the PI right now. It's full of Chinese ladies, huge ones.
Yeah.
Like really strong. They're like killing all the machines there. And
for kayaking.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I would imagine, right?
Like really strong.
Very strong.
And when
you fight Chinese women?
Come on, let's fight. They were like huge. They were like taller than me and like shoulders up to here.
Oh wow.
It was really impressive.
Wow. Chinese kayak team. All right. Female.
Yeah, female.
And they had impressive what now?
Oh, like their readiness, like this test that they do in the morning.
Oh, that's the Omega Wave?
Yeah, everybody was like.
So they wake up ready to work out.
Everybody at 100%. Jessica's first day, she was like at 20% because of the jet lag and everything. So
I wonder what we wake up to.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. Thank you so much for coming down. I want to wish you the best of luck in this camp. I think you're an amazing fighter. And I think this is going to be a great fight against, you know, you're a great challenger. She's a great champion. I can't wait for this. And I'm telling you this honestly from a guy that's one of the slower ones to embrace women's MMA. I love the high-level females across all the divisions, but I've always said there's a drop-off. But I'm telling you, this is one, man, that you can't miss this one. This is going to be a great fight. So I wish you the best of luck in health and your travels and on event night.
Então, só desejando boa sorte. Ele é um cara que tipo, teve bastante resistência com o MMA feminino, mas que hoje abraça o esporte e que realmente, né, ele vê que tem uma uma diferença muito grande entre o alto nível em todas as categorias e o resto. Mas que mesmo assim, tipo, ele tá falando, essa é uma luta que todo mundo tem que assistir, porque realmente é o alto nível do alto nível.
Muito obrigado. Que bom que a gente conseguiu mudar a sua opinião, né? Estamos mostrando que somos mulheres guerreiras e conseguimos fazer lutas boas. E se Deus quiser, na próxima vez vou vir com o cinturão e a nova campeã aí da categoria. Com certeza.
Oh, she said she's going to bring the belt. I got this, Thiago. She said she'll bring the belt if she wins the fight.
I like it.
Yeah.
Vou vir. Vai ser exclusivo.
First one in the US is going to be with you guys.
Oh, well, thank you.
Nice.
Seriously, I hope you have a safe camp. Thank you for bringing her by. Thiago, who are your other athletes? Are you just working with Jessica, or do you have other ones as well?
Right now we got a
catch
few
you from
fights
time to
booked.
time on television there. So
Yeah, I was just in Australia with Raulian Paiva and Nadia Kassim. I got Eliseu Capoeira fighting in Wichita. Then Priscila Cachoeira, her teammate, is fighting in London. After that, we got Marina Rodriguez fighting in the Philly card. Ion Cutelaba fighting Glover Teixeira in Miami. And that's all we got booked for now. But I have about 10 fighters in the UFC right now.
cool, man. All right. Well, you're welcome to stop by sometime and co-host an episode with us if you're ever in Vegas, and that way we can dive into some other topics and cover some news aside from what you got going on.
Sounds good.
All right, we got to take a break. That's Jessica Andrade, folks, who will be fighting Rose Namajunas on May 11th at UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's a quality main event. These are two high-ranked fighters, and they are going to deliver. I just know it because Jessica puts on too good of a pace for that not to happen. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media,
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
the same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
All right, here we go, guys. Here's today's daily debate. Saturday's #UFC show starts early in North America. Do you like the rare early Saturday events like #UFC Prague, or do you prefer your fights in a typical Saturday night slot? Here are your choices. Free up my Saturday night. Saturday night fights. Saturday night equals fights. Occasional day MMA is okay. Or GSP's retired. Who cares? Goes.
As long as there isn't college football on a Saturday, I'm okay with it. But if it's going to interfere with that, then I'd rather just deal with the fights at night, and that's just my Saturday. But with it gone, it's kind of nice. Now you got your night. You can do whatever you want, right?
Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't be more the occasional guy, I guess. Right. And by occasion, you mean from September till December? No.
Don't do it.
Gotcha. How about you, Dan Tom?
Man, it's tough. As I've gotten older, I don't know if it's I'm getting older, I've watched so many fights, or I just watched so many fights throughout the week, I get a little numb, or I need to kind of ease into the day, because, like, sometimes, ACB or Cage Warriors, you'll wake up and they'll have their Saturday night playing for our Saturday, morning, which is a little bit of a trick question there when we're trying to tackle this, right? And but it's apropos, because when that happens, guys, I feel like it's a little too early for me now. 8-year-old Dan Tom could wake up every Saturday morning to watch Wolverine fight Magneto, if you know what I'm saying, right?
I remember those days.
That's right. Shouts to the X-Men there. But it's not as palpable as a kid. Like, I need as an adult, I need time to gear up into actual fist fights and violence. So Saturday nights is for fight night for me.
Nice. Both of you guys had really, really great answers. For me, I'll take it. It not only does it interfere with, because I'm also thinking of like one championship and some other cards that have started early back in the day. Exactly, yeah. Shout out to those guys. They got their act together. But it can also interfere with a little bit of English Premier League as well as college football. But, the magic of TiVo has me able to kind of like manipulate and dance around whatever I need to. So,
but don't you want to watch it live so you can tweet with everybody else?
Very true.
But those
live events, yeah.
But those cards are rare where you're like, oh my God, I got to catch Blachowicz and Maheta Santo.
But we say that now, but what ends up happening is when it does go down and you miss it, you go, what was I thinking? I think you just got to tackle them all.
If you give me one of those cards where I can't miss it, yeah, but I've yet to have it where I've had that problem. I have the start and stop. I got my Roku, shout out to Mindra, things like that. Between laptops and TVs, I can settle it. So it does free up my Saturday night. But I'm like you, Dan. I'm conditioned from my boxing days, watching boxing with our dad and having boxing fight nights, to now in May that's just a night to enjoy combat sports, and I'm ready for it. And if I'm off, I'm off. Luckily, we live in a great city where Sunday night is just as poppin' as Friday night, Tuesday night. You know what I mean? And you can watch. When a lot of people are like, oh my God, what's Rashad got to say next or whatever, no disrespect to those guys, I can watch that later.
Right.
But I can still hit the club or go out and drink or do whatever at 10 p.m. Now, the East Coasters have it different. It's 1 a.m. Oh, man, you're really messing up.
True, yeah.
But Vegas, we got till 4 a.m. Right? We can drink all the time. So, Vegas, George, no problems, man. But SoCal George saw it a little bit different. You're a little bit more handcuffed there. But I'm closer to just free up my Saturday night from time to time.
I would say this, though. It just doesn't feel important when a big fight, a main event is happening at noon or 1 p.m. It just doesn't have that feel of, like you said, all your boys are around. It's nighttime.
That's true.
You've been drinking all day. It almost makes you feel like it's not important, even though that's not what they're trying to do here. But I have that little bit of that feeling,
Yeah, there's not a lot of foreplay in fight sports, guys. It's easier to get geared up. For example, even back in the NBA days when I watched NBA, you'd have those long runs. You'd have a couple games, and even in the first game, you kind of get geared up. You don't have to be at the live event, but it's something about a sports or arena game that kind of warms you in gradually. Whereas fights, there's something about it. You skip right to the good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But here's how it broke up, guys. Here's how it broke down. I should say, occasional day of MMA is okay. was 34%.
Okay.
The voting was real close. 29% said Saturday nights equals fights. So those are the hardcores that just don't want anything to mess up their Saturday nights. 20% said free up my Saturday night. Those are the ones that want to go out and prance around the town. And then there was 17% that are just so consumed by GSP's retirement that they didn't care to answer.
Yeah, there you go.
So thank you to everybody that voted. We appreciate it. And that's the daily debate for today. All right, and with that, we got to bounce right back to another break because we went really long with Jessica Andrade here. But it was a fun time with her, and she's a great fighter, and she's in a great fight. She's going to be in a great fight with Rose Namajunas in Brazil. But that's still 3 months away, so plenty of time to talk about that. We'll be back to close up shop. Stay close.
Injuries forced them to retire undefeated from MMA with a record of 0-0-0. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, this is for the Hoopsters. It's just underway. Started at 9:30 Eastern. The Utah Jazz, they're battling the Oklahoma City Thunder on NBA Radio, Series 207. XM86 is streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Selfishly, you may not put it on 207 or 86 for the next 6 minutes. That's when the show is gone and will be gone for the weekend. And by the way, I guess let me do this quick little roundup and then we'll do our final adieus. I want to thank all of our guests for the week, including Javier Vasquez, Javier Mendez, Neil Melanson, who stopped by our studio, Robbie Lawler, Mike Bond, Jared Cannonier, Freddie Roach, and Jessica Andrade. Next week, we have some fun shows lined up. I think there's some that I can even forecast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tease it.
You guys want to know what's up?
Yeah.
You sound like Mrs. Doubtfire when you said that.
Hello. Sorry, go ahead.
On Monday, Ben Askren and Jeremy Stevens. On Tuesday, we have 2 in studios, Tisha Torres and Diego Sanchez.
Nice.
And on Wednesday, we have 2 in studios. Dan, you're going to like this one.
Okay.
Mickey Gall and Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
That's a big cat, 6'6", ferocious dude. But he's also got I've seen an interview that he did with our colleague Fernando Pratas in Brazil, and his English it'll work. We don't need a translator. But in that, you can just tell he's kind of quirky and jokes around, you know what I mean? So I expect that to be a fun interview. He looks like the type of guy that can compartmentalize really well, and up until when it's time to fight, he'll just be Johnny Walker, lively dude, fun dude, or whatever. Once he's in the octagon and the other guy's in the octagon and everyone's out but them 2 in the ref and they lock it, ooh, someone's getting messed up. And that dude seems pretty destructive as of right now. But I think it's too early to say that's the guy that's going to take out John Jones.
Right.
I don't want to be the first guy to say that, but I think he's got an interesting, unorthodox skill set. And I think that's what it would take to be John Jones. No one's really been able to crack the John Jones code. DC's won some rounds here and there. And, so he's come close. But, and so is Alex Gustafsson as well. You got to give him his respect. Not his last fight, but before that. But, I think everyone gets got at some point. I think it'll happen to Khabib. I think it'll happen to John Jones. It happened to Demetrius Johnson. It happened to Demetrius Johnson with somebody that he had beat very cleanly the first time. So that's the beauty of the sport, and this is meant to disrespect those great champions. But it just seems like that's just kind of what happens, and that's fine. I mean, even in boxing, hell, who was undefeated? Joe Calzaghe?
Yeah.
Rocky Marciano? Floyd Mayweather. And I think that's it, right? I'm not sure of the more modern guys that maybe somebody went 25-0 and bounced. I don't know, but I'm talking about people that went on and had, big fights and were recognizable. Those are the only 3 that I can think of. Yeah. And they're very separated in terms of, like, Calzaghe, I think, hung it up, like, 10 years ago. Marciano's a good 80 years ago. And Floyd was active up until about 3 years ago if you throw out the fight with Conor McGregor. So.
What about the fight with Tension?
Oh, I forgot that one.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, any final thoughts on UFC Prague? Blachowicz, Maheta Santos, John, not Dan, John. Dan, your no
podcast.
No, yeah, you can say that.
Breakdown.
Your breakdown. On
yes, sir. There we go. Yes.
Milking a cow. Tell us your milking a cow.
Yeah, breakdown's up with the video breakdown we recorded. Also, there's one on there you guys got with the Gallagher. And then for the degenerates out there, of course, I dropped it late last night, early this morning, the Protecting Neck podcast, where my picks, plays, and analysis for UFC Prague, which I'm sure we'll talk a bit about, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about next week.
I'm going to try and finish this one, Dan. I got through about 7 or 8 fights the other day, and I think we just ran up on the event because we had the Bellators and all that shit.
I timestamp it, though, George, so if you're running, because the same thing happens to a lot of people, because I'm a jerk and I record it only 24 hours before fight time. I will timestamp where I start talking about the fights, and if you really just want to get to the end where the picks and plays are, I will recap at the very end all my picks and plays, so you kind of just skip and trim the fat. But if you want to listen to me jabber on for whatever reason, y'all can. But
one thing I learned from you is you can just hit play and get stuff done. Like the other day, I was just I had done some laundry. I'm folding my T-shirts, and I got through about three of your fights or whatever.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Some lunch or whatever, and I think multitasking is just something I got to get much better at. But
I'm trying to myself. I'm always trying to, man. It's tough.
Anyway, we'll be back on Monday with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Jumbo Josh won't be here, but we'll be back with us on Tuesday.
All right.
We'll recap UFC Prague, and it'll officially be fight week. By then, we'll probably be on our second embedded. Let's hope, cross our fingers, that nothing happens, and that we have 2 title fights next Friday here in Las Vegas, March 2nd. Tyron Woodley defense against Kamaru Usman. That's a great fight, guys. And then we have Anthony Smith challenging John Jones for UFC light heavyweight title. So, Ben Askren finally debuting in the UFC against Robbie Lawler. It really, really is a good card. So we're going to be pretty pumped up next week. We have a lot of in studios, and that's our job, man, to crank out these cover these great athletes. And don't forget to keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend. We have people hustling out in Europe. Shout out to Abby and Simon Head. And then we have people hustling back here, man, getting ready for this big event. All right, we're out of here. For Josh and Dan and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you all on Monday. Go out there and be a champion. Go, man, you. Woo!